Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? This is your go-to source for practical advice and support when considering if a divorce is the right answer for you. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll uncover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here is your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome back to day 4 of the Breaking Ties interview series, where we talk with a professional who assists those going through the divorce process and, more specifically this week, moving on after the divorce process. So we're looking at, answering those common questions that you're likely to have with a professional and get some great information out to you. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And with me today is Patti Warsaski. And Patti is a dating coach and the owner of A-Game Dating Coaching for men and women. So we've already got some great information. So if this is your first time this week listening with us, I encourage you to go back to the previous episodes. What are we on? 4 of 5. So go back to number 1. Each episode is going to have a different set of questions that Patti is answering. And let me tell you, you're going to find the information to be fantastic. Welcome back to the podcast, Patti. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. This is just such a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Good. Well, I know our listeners are just soaking up the information, because what you're sharing, it's just real stuff. And I think that, you don't get that. It's kind of refreshing in this day and age.
Yeah, we just want to be practical and like you said, real and practical and helpful, because there is a moving on process, as you know, and I enjoy being part of that process for people. It's really great to be a part of their evolution. I feel really honored to be able to share that and to see that and to help them through that.
Yeah. And if this is your first time listening, I've mentioned it on previous episodes. Patti was my dating coach, and my girlfriend Amy and I have been going and dating for a long time, and moved on after each of our divorces. And I couldn't have really done it without Patti. So I appreciate that, Patti.
You're very welcome.
All right. So we've been kind of walking through the dating cycle and process this week. And so kind of the next common questions that pop up in this episode, we're going to start with, what kind of signs can you get that another date should be on the horizon? Or, maybe you got to consider some things and figure out if it's another time for another good date.
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question, because a lot of times people automatically assume, well, if I had a good time on the first date, I should go on a second date. And that's a big component of it. But there's also a little bit more to take into consideration. A good time is a good time. But throughout that first date, did you look at that person in a way where you saw them as somebody you want to explore dating with? Or did you just have a really good time because this is a person you could have as a really good friend too? Assess that. And if your gut tells you that they possess qualities that you have been looking for, certainly don't shut it down. Pursue the second date. We all are, first of all, just in general as people, we're all a work in progress. We all evolve. And so just in that same way, so are relationships. So the first date could be fun and the second date may not be as much fun, but it doesn't mean don't have a third date. It just means kind of look at what you're learning about this person and does it align with the things that you are looking for yourself. If you have a gut feeling that tells you like, no way, don't do it. Don't be uncomfortable. There are a lot of scenarios out there where somebody says, well, I didn't really like him on the first date, but I felt bad. I didn't want to say no to a second date. And then they have the second date. The second date is totally different and wonderful. And they go on to have relationships and marriages even. And that is because sometimes you need to keep in mind that often people will be very nervous on that first date. So you could have that great first date where everybody's laughing and having a great time and it's wonderful. But there's other first dates where somebody might be nervous and it shows and it's coming across as maybe being not interested or distracted or something. So just look at the big picture. Don't look at like, well, he barely talked during dinner or she doesn't seem interested in me. Could be nerves, could really be nerves. So at the very least, if you're not going to go on the second date, or you don't think you're going to go on the second date after the first date, have some more interaction. Doesn't have to be in person, doesn't have to be a date, but maybe have a Zoom, talk on the phone, even exchange text messages, just something more to see if the demeanor of the other person has changed since the first date. They may be super comfortable in that chat, and you decide to go out with them, and then in person, they're all clammed up. That could be nerves. Go back to the other way of communicating, go back to the chat, go back to the phone conversation or something, and see if you revisit that same person you met in the first place. And if you do, realize that was just nerves. Give it another shot. You'll probably see a different persona than on that first date, because we all tend to get scared. But again, if you feel that there was a safety issue, or there was something where it was a red flag of something in this person's history that you didn't know before you went on the date, and that makes you uncomfortable, then don't do it. But do bear in mind that as much as we put our best foot forward, or want to put our best foot forward, sometimes nerves do get the best of us. So a second date could be warranted if you think that might be the case. But at the end of the day, go with your gut.
Yeah, that's always sometimes the best advice is just your gut feeling and whether or not that works. Now, let's say we want to go on a second date, but the other person just isn't quite into us. And how do we handle with rejection while dating?
Well, first of all, the word rejection, so many people just look at it as like it's the most negative thing and it's terrible. Nobody wants it to have happen to them. But rejection isn't always terrible. Rejection often is a clearing of a path for you to move on to what is right for you, instead of pursuing something that was never right for you. And people can reject for their own reasons. Do not take it personally, unless someone flat out comes out to you and says, well, you know what? Somebody say to me, you know what, Patty? I decided I don't like brunettes. Well, that's not going to change. So that's not on me. That's on you. So see where it's coming from. If you are baffled because you thought it was a good date and they're not interested, again, remember, you don't know everything about them. You don't know every aspect of their private life, and you don't know where their thoughts are. Maybe they were one of those people that we talked about in day one, where we said a well-meaning friend or family member kind of pushed them to get out there and date, and they just weren't really ready to date yet. So they're coming back and not pursuing more with you just based on that. A lot of times we don't have a way to know what the reasons are why there is no second date, which is why I tell you, just do not take it to heart and take it personally. And again, going to day two's, I think it was day two's topic, have confidence. Have confidence in yourself. If it didn't work out with this person, that's not your person. It's not your person, and it's not going to be your person, no matter how much you want that second date. It's a two-person dance we do here, so both people have to be on the same page. If one isn't, move on. Just move on. We are not in a population, we're not in Alaska where the male-female ratio is all messed up, or we're not in a population where if you don't date, you'll never date again. These opportunities are going to keep revolving around you and coming. So take those with confidence instead of letting your confidence be questioned because of somebody else's choice.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's great stuff. And like you said, I think the main thing to realize is you're not always going to be on the same wavelength as the other person, and they may have a different viewpoint from a different angle that you're just not familiar with. So, it's a situation where you shouldn't really necessarily always beat yourself up.
Absolutely. Don't do it.
In that particular case. So now the dating thing's heating up or whatever. I mean, are there some signs that perhaps someone's rushing into a relationship too quickly? I mean, or maybe it's coming from the person you're dating.
Yeah, it can come from both sides, actually, and it comes from a lot of different sources. Sometimes it will come simply from the fact that someone hasn't had a relationship in a long time and something quasi-good comes along, and they just decide, okay, well, this feels okay. This feels pretty good. Why don't we just see each other more times a week instead of once a week? Why don't we go to 4 times a week? Or why don't I just stay at your house and you stay at my house every weekend? And why don't we do things, and let's plan a trip, and let's do this. And that over enthusiasm sometimes is a huge red flag. A lot of times it's somebody that maybe in their own life a little hungry for that interaction. So it's not necessarily saying, like, let's say, Mike, let's say we're you and me. It's not me saying to you, Mike, I really want to spend time with you. I am really enjoying getting to know who you are. It's saying, I don't want to be alone anymore. I've been alone for so long. Now I've got you. I've got you. I caught you. And I'm going to spend every bit of time with you. And let's do this. Now it's just about feeding their own need to just not be alone. So you don't want to fall into somebody else's, just convenience person. So that is a very, very big thing. Another red flag with that is if it isn't from a loneliness source, really carefully read between the lines and think, is it something that they might want from you? Is this somebody that's getting cozied up to you because there might be a financial reason? Maybe they see some reason to get closer to you because they think there might be an opening there for them to ask to borrow money or to move in with you or something. You don't know what they're not sharing from their own personal life. They may be in a situation where they need a place to live. So you look pretty good on paper, and I think I want to come live with you because I'm about to get, my lease not renewed or some other situation that's going to cause them to need a place to live. So they're laying groundwork for other things that have nothing to do with you, but you're going to be who they're going to use to get what they want. And you don't ever, ever want to be somebody else's convenience or what they need for themselves. It is a two-person gig here. It is something everybody's got to be fair and equal to everybody else. So if you feel that there's something coming down the pike that's not going to be fair and equal to you because of this over-enthusiasm, you have every right to dial it back. Just because somebody wants to spend 4 or 5 days a week with you or spend weekends at your house doesn't mean that you have to do that. You can just say, no, I have a full schedule. This doesn't work for me right now. And if they really get angered and just say, fine, you know what? This isn't going to work for me. Well, there might have been an agenda there. If somebody says, I'm sorry, I just really like you so much. I like spending time with you. And I just, maybe I came on a little strong, but I want you to know I will work, we'll go at a pace that's comfortable for you. That's someone showing you some respect and respecting your boundaries. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries and is trying to do too much too soon, again, not your person.
Right. Exactly. And, it goes back to what we talked about previously with regards to it takes two wholes, when you become a half, you need to be kind of an independent person.
You cannot be half of something great if you are not whole with yourself. So just make sure you are comfortable in your own skin, feel good about who you are, feel confident about the choices that you're making, not let those choices be made for you by an overly enthusiastic person that you've just met that wants to move things along too fast. If it's not your comfort zone, it's not your person.
Right. And you don't want to be in a codependent situation either.
I'm glad you brought that up because codependency it's real and it's a thing. And a lot of people find themselves at first becoming enamored with the thought of somebody wanting to spend that kind of time with them and giving them that kind of attention. And it's kind of hard to see that it is a codependent situation where now you're not really a person that they so much can't live without. You're just what they can't live without, which is another person.
Right.
So, a little more than we can delve into right now and right here. But yes,
I would, a whole other episode in of itself.
Right. And I would encourage somebody, since we've just hit the tip of the iceberg on it, I would encourage somebody to, if they don't understand what a codependent relationship is, read up about it. We have a plethora of resources via the internet, and there's some really good ones out there that will define that. And then that way, when you know what that is, you know what to look for. You can spot your own red flags.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, that's a fantastic day today on the information. This is going to actually wrap up our fourth day of the interview series.
Going so fast.
Exactly right. I mean, it does. It's so great and it's so easygoing. It's fantastic. So, but we want to invite you to join us tomorrow as we continue our discussion on dating and divorce. Patti and I would like to thank you for joining us today and on the Breaking Ties interview series. Should you have any questions for Patti, I'm going to put her information over in the description so you have a way to reach out to her and ask those questions that might be more personal in nature. Divorce is not the end of your story. As Patty and I know, it is the start of your next great chapter. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? With Mike Fulkerson. For questions, please reach out to Mike via email in the description or give him a shout at 630-444-1410. And remember to subscribe, like, and follow.